Hey, Mike Jackson here from Signcraft Magazine. It's your online guide to profitable and creative sign production. I've been using Adobe Photoshop 2021 for a while now, and I've been using their subscription-based version of Adobe Photoshop for quite a few years. They're always sneaking in these little cool tools that, unless you're paying attention, you're missing it. And that's kind of a little bit of what we're going to work with today. There's glyphs and special characters and ligatures, that kind of thing, when you're entering text in Photoshop, that you can get to pretty easy nowadays. Hey, let's have some fun with Photoshop and Illustrator using the text tools. So I'm going to introduce you to a word you may or may not know much about. It's called Glyphs, G-L-Y-P-H-S. And basically a glyph is all the characters, letters, punctuation, special characters, ligatures, numbers, and so forth that make up a font. And to access the Glyphs panel, go up to Window and click on Glyphs. And if you're in Illustrator, you go to Window, Type, and then look for Glyphs in that flyout menu. So it brings up the Glyphs panel. And you can turn the Glyphs panel on and off once the little icon is loaded, the little panel icon is loaded. And if you click on it, now you can scroll down, load the font that you're going to be using. And you can scroll up and down and you can see every single character that's in the font, including like this. Here we got ligatures in this font. And it's a pro version of Grand Hotel. What we want to do with the glyphs now is take advantage of the power of that. So don't be scared by that word. It's no big deal. And it's kind of like an old word. It just basically stands for symbol like petroglyph or hieroglyphics. So this is just a demo file I created for this project. So all I did was pick a font, pick a letter height, clicked right there, started typing, hit the return when I hit here. Return, and then I selected each line, gave it a special color just for the variety of the demonstration here. You can see there's combination of the glyphs. You can see all the different variations, including the ligatures towards the bottom. There's some standard ligatures with the FFI, FL, and that's about all that's in the original font. So the Pro font actually has a lot more in it. We're going to get to play with those in a minute. Now we're going to go through this panel real quick. I'll just select all the text. And the first one here is the bold. It's not really bold, it just makes them thicker. This is they call it italic, but it's actually slant. This one will switch out all the lowercase with this all uppercase. It's not practical for this particular font, but you might use it once in a while. And this one will put in the small caps in place of the lowercase letters. That's assuming, of course, it's a Pro font that has them in it. And I'll skip these two for a minute. The underscore and the strike through. And now we get into a little bit more of the fun stuff. And so if I select all these letters and I click on the ligatures, standard ligatures, it will automatically fix those. I'll undo that. See what they look like before. And if I apply the ligatures, that'll do all of them at one time if that's how I want to do it. I'll undo it, and let's say I want to individually add ligatures. But maybe for some reason I don't want to do it on that particular pair. No problem, just leave it like it is. And if I go to this font doesn't have one of the contextual alternatives, so some fonts will have it, some of them won't. Now I'll go into this one. This is the stylistic alternatives, and watch the capital letters here. They'll change. So these are the stylistic alternatives. And it's the same as, as doing the ligatures. I can selectively go in and pick out one. Let's fix the P and make that a basic P. And if you're using some of the newer version of Photoshop, you'll notice that if you have a single letter selected you can get to the stylistic alternatives or any one of the alternatives by holding your letter or your mouse right over the letter. So that's pretty fun, actually. And it comes in more handy on some of the fonts that have a lot of different variations, special S's and K's and all that. Some of them might have 5 or 6 different alternatives. I'll show you that in a little while. I told you I would circle back and show you how to use these tools. Here's an example. And so if I wanted to do an office party 1 1/4 like miles, and I need to put the 1 in back in there. If I select a quarter, change it to a fraction, now I've got a more pleasing fraction. I also can do the superscript version that makes it smaller and moves it to the top, or some projects you're going to do the subscript. I hardly ever use those. You can turn those on. Now let's say I want to do first, like First National Bank, ST. That actually doesn't look too bad, right? But you can make it jump up off the baseline a little bit using the ordinals. It's not something I use too much. And let's say I want to make, turn these off. Let's say it's 18 degrees outside. 18 degrees. So there's no degrees symbol on a keyboard. So to do that, you just go up to your Glyphs, find the degree sign, double click on it, and there it is. So I could go in and say 18 cents if I wanted to do that. Same thing. I believe it's somewhere in this area. Yep, double click on it. And now 18 cents. And of course, again, you could make it smaller if you wanted. Or not. Now that you know how to use all the tools, let me do one of these little projects in real time. So the first thing I might do is let's fix the G, change it to that simple G, and let's do all the ligatures all at one time. Bang. And let's kern this letter style a little bit, this character pair here. I hold down the Option or Alt key and I'll do a back arrow, a couple of clicks, and for the most part I like it, right? And so let's do some special characters real quick, and I'm going to do copyright Signcraft. Click the letter. Might have clicked it twice, I don't know. Copyright. Alright, and maybe I'll turn out just a little bit. And maybe that a little bit. And I'll underscore everything. And since that looks pretty darn big, I'll superscript it. Let me finish up this project with a real life example. I worked on this project back in October, and the idea really was to find a font that gave me a lot of character alternatives. And the idea, of course, is I wanted to look like someone took a ballpoint pen, wrote out those couple of words on a piece of white paper. And so I picked a letter style. In this case, it was American Favorite Script. And if you look at the glyphs on this, you can see that there's an awful lot of alternative letters and glyphs and ligatures. So worked out pretty well. Anywhere in there, if I pick a letter, there's usually a couple of alternative letters. Like this one works fairly well, but it would bump into the D. And I just went in there and changed out, found stuff I like, and when it was all said and done, it looked something like that. And so I included that in this project, and it's just a layer on top of all the other things that were done within the actual project. This is Shift Art. They have a contest every month, and it gives me a chance to do a lot of Photoshop techniques and get a little recognition once in a while from doing that. You can see all the power, within using the text, the glyphs, the special characters, and all the features that come in the text feature within Photoshop. And actually, Adobe Illustrator works basically the same. You just, a couple of different menus are slightly different, but everything else works. You guys have a great time, and we'll catch you on another upcoming video.